am in Daniel chapter 1, and in the last video I talked about how Daniel and Meshach, Shadrach and Abednego, asked to have vegetables and water instead of the king's choice food and wine. And something I didn't mention, which also stuck out to me, was it is really so easy for us to justify ourselves. It would have been really easy for Daniel and his friends to have, we have to have this choice food. The king will be upset with us otherwise. Plus, it might make us stronger, and whatever. It would have been really, really easy for them to justify defiling themselves. And we know that they would have been defiling because Daniel talks about that. So I'm guessing that they were probably being served pork and shellfish, so that eating it would have been defiling themselves. Anyway, and so it just makes me think of, oftentimes we're not even in a situation where it's this easy to justify ourselves, but whether we are or not, I think when we get into a space of justifying ourselves, really that's an indication that we're believing a lie. And I catch myself doing it too, where really I'm wanting to do when I am tempted to justify myself, that indicates to me that something is amiss. Like I need to have a heart check here. I'm probably doing something that is not really right or good to do if I am justifying myself by doing it. So it's just a good indication to see, are we believing truth or a lie? Are we walking in God's ways and coming before Him and having a little heart check there? So yeah, I just want to encourage us to, when we're tempted to justify ourselves in anything, to see where our heart's at and if we're actually walking in God's ways. And so part of that is believing that God's ways are good and that there is blessing that comes with them, and that walking in truth and righteousness and justice and all these things that are who God is actually beneficial, and there's actually a blessing with it. And so it's really tempting to try to get away with stuff. It's really tempting, but really nobody gets away with anything. Whether it might seem like people do, but everything that we say or do, believe, feel, it affects us. It affects other people. Like, I think the result, a lot of body illnesses, I believe, come from us doing things or believing things or saying things that are not in line with who God is. And it talks about, not even talks about, but unforgiveness. So I'm part of a healing ministry thing, healing prayer, and every training that I've been to, and I've witnessed this myself, where unforgiveness prevents so much healing in our bodies. And stress causes tons of issues. I mean, we all know that stress and anxiety just wreaks havoc on our bodies. Everything's related. When we lie, our body, there's this disconnect within our bodies, and sin produces death. It just does. And so when we find ourselves justifying ourselves, wanting to make excuses for things, it's just a good warning. Something is amiss. We are not walking in God's ways. So yeah, this passage in Daniel, it would have been really easy for Daniel and his friends to justify defiling themselves and eating the choice food. That would have been the easy route to take, and they chose not to. Good for them. Awesome. Very impressive. And let us do the same.